Oh jeez, fuck, I haven't made a proper 40k video in a fucking month. Shit, okay, Mortarion, new Primarch, that's a big deal. Alright, let's do a video on this guy. Review / analysis, whatever the fuck that even means, let's go! Okay, so where do we start? I guess we should get the paint job out of the way. Now, technically speaking, it's basically perfect, following the standard of display paint jobs, but compositionally, not so perfect. The main issue is the purple. Not sure whose idea the purple was, but it was a really bad idea. Okay, so this cowl cloak thing is the issue. See, there are two main things that draw attention as far as colour goes. That's either brighter colours or contrast. Now, since Morty's pretty pale overall, contrast is the big thing. And this cloak contrasts heavily. But that's fucking stupid, because it's the least interesting part among everything it's drawing attention from. You see, it's surrounded by light elements, but since they're so plentiful and consistently bright, they don't give the eye anything to naturally focus on, so the big single element of the cloak pulls the eye towards it. That, and the purple clashes horribly with the red loincloth and blue further down and the cream throughout. Oh god, it's just so bad. While we're at it, the blue is pretty bad too. It just feels like they had the colours that they knew they had to use with the armour, but the other elements they picked at random and made awful decisions. See, the blue wispy shit should have been green to match the rest of the composition, and the purple cloak should have been done in a mid-tone brown so that it would have flowed with the bronze on the armour, but the bronze would have always overpowered it, spreading out the focus and letting those details guide the eye across all the important detail. Alright, that's 300 words spurging out over colour theory. Let's get to what actually matters to anybody who isn't too stupid to deviate from GW's paint scheme. Starting from the bottom, these Nurglings are some good Nurglings. They've all got their own little interesting tools going on, and they've got their little hoods that tie them back to Morty and show that they aren't just any bag of pus, they're bags of pus loitering around a demon Primarch. They're good, they're easy to get rid of if you want a grimmer feel, and they're versatile as hell. Next, we're back to this blue wispy shit, and colours aside, it still looks bad. GW have been trying to go for this fabric into magic stuff for a while, and the best it's ever looked is possible. This is not in that tier. See, they brought down these stitching bits way too low and it kills any feeling of smooth transition. I'd say just cut the cloak a bit of the way up to make it look raggedy, enough so that his toe can be a point of contact along with the rest of the cloak to the base. Then we've got the Essences and Fly Demon Cherub guys. These are brilliant, they add a great sense of weight and motion to the model, and the flies with their corrupted cherub look just perfectly complement the whole Angel of Nurgle thing going on upstairs. Again, great and versatile bits. Alright, bigger stuff, back to the cloak for a minute. Colour scheme aside, it isn't actually that bad. I like how it transitions from fabric to chainmail back to fabric, before that wisp shit. It adds a nice sense of progression and breaks things up. I also quite like how it acts to frame elements, splitting the arms and torso and head. Again though, main issue is the colour. As stated, it works as a framing entity, but to do that effectively, that has to be considered when it's painted. Brown would be my main suggestion, but cream, grey, differentiating green, and other colours could all work. Just make sure it's a colour that draws attention to whatever other colours you use. Okay, finally getting towards the meat of things. His armour looks pretty good. There's a lot of nice detail. I especially like these bits of tubing and ports, but it doesn't quite feel cluttered. It doesn't stray into Gulliman Heroes of the Storm looking territory. In fact, it all looks quite firmly like some 40k power armour, but decorated and mutated just enough to be befitting of a demon. It's got enough subtle patches of rust and decay to look firmly Nurgle without going overboard and looking like a mess. All in all, it's a great example of finding a strong middle ground between everything needed. Not knowing when to stop has ruined a whole lot of bigger centerpiece models, but the armour really shows they did well with Mortarion. Alright, next up, weapons. First, Silence, the Scythe. Now, that phrase I just gave about moderation is tested here. They really push it to the border of too far, but I feel like they just about avoided crossing the line. I feel like I'm willing to be more forgiving, since a scythe is already the dumbest possible melee weapon, so from the outset it's sort of impossible to take seriously. I do like, though, how they kept a little chain blade on the tip. It's one of the few design elements that's endured through nearly all depictions of Mortarion, and though I've seen it derided for being impractical, I'd argue that it has a damn lot of utility as compared to using a scythe in the normal manner and trying to cut your opponent with the inner blade edge. Not to get off topic, but the farming scythe really is a fucking terrible instrument for use in combat. In the other hand, we've got the pistol, Lantern. This here is real pretty. When I think fancy archaeotech, this is the kind of thing in my head. I especially like just how little corrosion and wear is present on it. It gives it this air of mysterious power. Consider what's stranger, a weapon that's been through hell and looks like it, or a weapon that's been through hell and looks almost untouched. It's cool and spooky and I love it. Okay, let's save the head for last and go on to the wings. Now, the classic Demon Mortarion look generally has gone for more of a corrupted angel thing with these, but it seems like they wanted to bring in a bit of an insect fly wing look to them. Now, don't get me wrong, I actually really like the insectile Nurgle look. In fact, I prefer the aesthetic of it compared to the bloated and fat look that tends to be more prevalent. The issue is, I'm not quite sure if this middle ground between the angel and insect wings has allowed them to do justice to either. Don't get me wrong, I like them overall, but I can't help but feel they would have been better if they had chosen one or the other, and thus been given the freedom to go further to a more interesting point in either direction. But still, I do like them. The subtle mechanical parts in particular imply that they're growing out of both Mortarion and the armour. Nice touch. Alright, let's get to the head. What's visible of the face is brilliant. It's the one window into his flesh, and it's this melting visage of meat barely attached to the head. It's about the things you don't see, and only showing this small part was a great move. Covering most of it is of course this gas mask respirator piece. Now, this might be a good time to bring up Forge World's Mortarion of the 30k era. So, we're not here to talk about this guy in detail, but the biggest problem I and everybody I've heard talking about it is that he's missing his gas mask. This was a massive mistake. When people think Mortarion, they think about the guy with the scythe and the gas mask. Not giving him a mask is like having Magnus without nipple horns, or Fulgrim who isn't handsome. Never mind that, but point is, this Mortarion had zero gas mask. This Mortarion, on the other hand, has a whole lot of gas mask. In fact, maybe even too much. The filter cans on it are almost as big as his head. It almost feels like they were trying to make up for Forge World's error by overcompensating just a bit. Hugeness aside, I did quite like it. It has some design cues taken from the Skitarii Ranger masks that tie it nicely into the Imperial tech look. And the way it's sculpted makes it look like it's the only thing keeping his face from sloughing off his skull. I think it's a pretty good look. Alright, that's what makes up Demon Primarch Mortarion. Overall, I think he's pretty good. He's got a striking look to him, and really does capture that centerpiece model feeling. I also like how he can be built with the weapons in different hands on a slightly different pose. It gives room for just a little bit of variety. As compared to his brother Primarchs, I'd say he's come out a lot better than Rabute, but doesn't quite stack up to Magnus as far as my taste goes. Speaking of not sizing up to Magnus, Morty isn't so big. This is something I'm pretty glad about. GW is going a bit mental on its rising scale kick, and I'm happy they showed some restraint in that regard. Magnus can get away with being huge. His name literally means big, but the other Primarchs don't need to be so massive. Though, that does bring up another point. Keep looking at this comparison. Now, consider that Mortarion costs, and this will vary of course based on country, £5 more than Magnus. Now, Mortarion is a good deal more densely packed with detail, but, you know, just bear it in mind. It's not my place to make value judgments for anybody, but, you know, Morty is the same cost as a basic knight, so make of that what you will. Okay, we done here? Yeah, Morty's pretty good. Let's go with 7 out of 10, and I ain't just saying that to make a number of Nurgle joke. Alright, now onto the soulless, scum-sucking, shillish rigmarole. If you liked this video, press the like button. If you have anything to add, leave a comment. If you want to see more content from me, then press the subscribe button, and maybe the bell too if you really want. If you desire even more Magos content, then I have a secondary channel, but that's not Warhammer, so enter at your own risk. Also, I have a Twitter, because everybody has a Twitter, so follow me there to help contribute to my parasitic self-esteem. Jesus Christ, just imagine a world where people didn't have to be reminded of this basic shit every video they watched. Oh yeah, if you already were a subscriber, then sorry for the wait since the last proper 40k video. I've been hit with a bad case of real life bullshit and a bit of illness beside. I'm trying to work around it now, but you know how it is. Golly, almost makes you want to give up and embrace the blessed decay of Grandfather Nurgle, don't it?